The days of walking into a flight service station or calling for a phone briefing are pretty much over for instrument pilots. That's not necessarily bad, since today we have more information on our phones and tablets than even the best briefer had 20 years ago. Whereas once we had to sketch a mental image of a radar map based on a briefer's rapid-fire description, now we can see it in high definition. But with great power comes great responsibility. Since weather briefings are now a solo event, it's up to you as the pilot in command to review all important weather information and make a safe decision. There's nobody to check your work, so take this responsibility seriously. It's easy to take shortcuts, especially when you're in a hurry, but don't fall into the trap of merely checking a radar image and blasting off. You might get away with it on a good weather day, but there's much more to planning an IFR flight than just a glance at a pretty map. To guard against an incomplete briefing, you need to follow a step-by-step process. This should be tailored to your experience level, your airplane, and your geographic area, so spend some time early in your instrument flying career experimenting with different approaches. No matter what method you settle on, though, a complete briefing has two features. It covers all the important information, and it follows a logical order. On the first point, there are some weather products that every pilot should review. No matter what the flight, a look at the synopsis and SIGMET is in order. Beyond those basics, focus on what matters for your type of flying. For example, if you live in the Great Lakes, you'll want to get very good at evaluating icing forecasts and PIREPs. If you live in Florida, thunderstorms are probably the most important threat. Also, consider any personal minimums you might have. Be sure to plan for an alternate airport, even if one isn't legally required. Equipment can break and weather can change, so make sure you've at least considered a plan B. And don't forget to check those NOTAMs and TFRs. A good weather briefing that leads to a closed runway isn't worth much. To organize all these bits of information, follow a plan that makes sense to you. Some pilots like to start on a national scale, then work towards the local. A briefing like this might start with the synopsis and prog charts, then move to the regional radar images, then end with METARs and TAFs for specific airports. Other pilots follow a version of the standard flight service briefing, which starts with the current conditions, then moves to the forecast. This approach might begin with the synopsis, METARs, and PIREPs to get a sense of the weather as it is now, then shift to winds aloft forecast, icing forecast, and TAFs. Both approaches, or another one you come up with yourself, can work, but make sure you stay disciplined and follow the same procedure every time you fly. Where do you get all this information? The options seem to grow by the month. Electronic flight bag apps like preflight and Garmin Pilot are a great place to start. These all-in-one apps include flight planning and charts in addition to weather, so you can get an excellent idea of how the weather will affect your specific route. These apps typically show static weather maps on an imagery page and more interactive weather layers on the main map page. There's also an option to request a standard weather briefing on the flights page, which will pull in TFRs and NOTAMs. Use all three pages to get the most complete picture. Not all weather products are available in aviation apps, so don't forget about some great online resources. 1-800-WXBrief.com, as the name suggests, replicates the traditional phone briefing online. Moving from adverse conditions to synopsis to NOTAMs, it's ideal for making sure you have all the information pertaining to a flight, but there's much more here than just text briefings. You can use the interactive map to overlay a number of weather products on your proposed route. The National Weather Service also offers a valuable website at aviationweather.gov. This is the place to find the graphical forecast for aviation, the GFA, an interactive AirMet map, and the most detailed icing forecasts. And here's a tip. It's also the place to find new forecast tools before they ever make it into an app.